Yeah, good day everyone. Welcome again to our tutorial, our CSS tutorial class. Welcome again. Today we are going to discuss more advanced about CSS. In the previous section we had discussed more about CSS, the meaning of CSS, the introduction, the syntax, the selection, how to comment. We have discussed about background, we have discussed about color. Today we have discussed about border. Today we are going to padding, we are going to height, bold model outline, fonts. I'm going to be taking it section by section, so make sure you watch this video from the beginning to the end so that you can understand what I've been doing practically in this particular video. So we have already do some section of the video which are series on our playlist. You can check on this channel, on Gifted Computer channel. You can check a playlist. You see CSS tutorial class. We have 1 or 2 3 videos that we have posted before, so you can check it and understand from the beginning what you have been discussing about CSS. So today we are going directly to color. No, we are going to go margin today. CSS margin. How do we add margin? What is margin? So margin I used to create space around elements outside of any defined element. Like this box now. This box is this element has a margin of 70 pixels. You can see it now. There are space around the corner. You can see this place. There is space there. So this is margin. So now CSS margin property are used to create space around element outside of any defined borders. So it's just for you to add space around any element on your code, that you're writing, your code editor on your website, to add a space by the side, either by the left, either by the corner, either by the bottom. So with CSS you have full control over the margin. Their property, these are their property for setting a margin on each side of an element. They have the top, right, bottom and left that I discussed earlier. Margin individual side. CSS has property for specifying the margin for each side of an element. You may decide that you don't want to add margin to the top, bottom, left and right at the same time. Then you can choose the particular area that you want to add margin. You may decide that you want to put the margin on the top section, only on the top section. You don't want to put it on the right section. Let me show you a sample of a website, one of my client website that I make use of margin, so that we can see how margins work. Now let's go back. Okay, the site is loading already. Now you can see this website. Now this amazing website is a phone repairing website. My client will repair a phone website, repair a phone. So now we can see now these are margin. We can see this contact engineer, and I put margin in this text. Now this text is in the middle, contact engineer is in the middle. I put margin on all the section of the work. So this is the work of the margin that allows you to put margin in your work. So now let's go back to our work. We have margin right, margin bottom, margin left. All the margin property have the following values. Auto, the browser calculates the margin. When you put auto, the browser will calculate the margin. When you put length, specify a margin in pixel, point, centimeter. So when you are using length, you will specify how many lengths you want to use. I want 2 pixels, I want 70 pixels. Like this one that we see here, this is 70 pixels that they use in this particular place. So when you are using length, you put the length unit. If you are using centimeter, if you are using pixel, if you are using point, you put it there. Then if you are using percent, specify a margin in percent of the width of the containing element. In array, specify that the margin should be inherited from the parent element. Tips: negative values are not allowed. Negative value, like you say minus 4, -2 as a margin is not allowed. So set different margin for all 4 sides of a P element. So P, don't forget, P is an element of HTML which represents paragraph. Now we want to set a paragraph, a margin for our elements. Now for our work, let's go to our code editor. If you are with me, I'm using VS Code editor. You can be using Sublime Text, you can be using Atom, you can be using brackets, you can be using Notepad, but this is what I'm using now. So we want to set margin for our work. So how do we do it? How do we set margin for our work? We need to do that in our CSS. I will go to my style.css. Now this is my margin, this is my element. I've given it background before. I'm giving it background, but I'm deciding I'll not say P, I'll not say background. Okay, margin. So margin top, let me say margin top is 100 pixel. Please can see it now. The next one, let me say margin left. Margin left, you can see all of them are showing. I can say margin left is 50 pixel. Then the next one, margin bottom. Margin bottom is 100 pixel too. I can decide to see margin which one is it? Right, okay, right. I'm decided to give it 60 pixel. So the moment we applied it and save our work, we go to live preview. We are going to see what we do in the live preview. So now we go to live preview to go and see the margin that I add to this my P element. This is my P element. I use Laura IPC this day. I use it. I don't write any more text of my code. I just use Laura. So now we are going to see it. Now we are going to see it before we go to the next section of our work. It's loading. It will load and we can see it now. In a couple of minutes we are going to see it. Let me check if it has loaded. I don't know. It's still loading from my browser, from my code editor. Still loading. So now while it's still loading, let's check this one. This is our online code editor. Now wow, see, this is my margin. You can see it now. I gave it 50 by the left, I give it 60 by the right. So we can see by the corner in this place and in this place too, we have little margin, but by the top and the left we have much margin. So I gave it 100 pixel here and I gave it 100 pixel. Let me check what I gave at the bottom margin. Okay, I gave it button on 100. The other one, that other one too is 100. So that is why normally in the first place our text should be together with the H1 that is at the top of our code. If I remove it now, we are going to see what is going to happen. When I save it back, I press Ctrl S and let's go back to our code editor. You can see it now. Nothing is there, no space, no paragraph. The padding is not there because I have already deleted it. And let me add it back so that we can see the changes. So I will save it now. Let's go back to our, you can see now, wow, we have already added a margin to our work, both left, both right, both bottom, both left, everything. So if you decided that you don't want to add margin to the top and bottom, there is only left and right that you want to add margin. So I will just remove the bottom. I will remove the bottom margin. Oh, sorry. I remove the bottom margin. I remove the top margin. Let's see the difference. So we can see the difference of what we have been seeing. Okay, let me save it now so we can go back. We can see it now. Wow, we have removed the margin, both the top and both the bottom. That was why we are having it like this. So you guys should try it out and drop your comment in the comment section of this tutorial as we proceed. So the next one we are having margin shorthand property. To shorten the code, if it is possible to specify all the margin property in one property, the margin property is a shorthand property for the following individual margin property. Don't forget, I told us that we have margin top, margin right, margin bottom, margin left. So they are not telling us that we can specify it in one row instead of having long code like this. Like you know, before we have 4 margin that I put here, both for left, both for bottom. So they're not telling us that we can easily specify it in one line, one single line of code, instead of having it in a long row like this. So this is it. So here is how it works. The margin property has 4 value. We have 25 pixel, 50 pixel, 75 pixel, 10 pixel, so 100 pixel. So the top margin is 25, the right margin is 50, the bottom is 75, the 100 is left margin. So that is how it works. The first one is top, the other one is right. It's just like a rectangle. When we say a rectangle, you know, you have 4 sides of a rectangle. Let me bring a rectangle out of my Google browser. Let me bring a rectangle picture so we can see what I'm talking about. Now, for instance, this is a rectangle. So they're now telling us that the top is the first margin. You can see, where is it? So the top is the first margin, which is 25 pixels. Then the right is the other margin, which is how many pixels, which is 50 pixels. Then the other one is left. The last one is also bottom, which is, that is how it follows. That's the explanation, and that is the margin shorthand. You can use to write a single line of code, and put your margin at the same time. So now let's try it in our code editor here now. Instead of having margin up and down, I'll just write margin. Enter. I'll just write the top. I want the top to be 25 pixels. The top to be 25 pixels. The bottom, the right to be 60 pixels. The left should be 30 pixels. The bottom should be 50 pixels. Now let's save it and check out our code so that we can see what is happening. Wow, let's see it out. So you can see now, this is our answer. Let me increase it to 100 pixels, the top to like 100 pixels, so that we can see changes. Let me save it back. Let's check. Wow, so we can see it now, our code has already changed. So instead of writing a long line of code, we can easily write it in just a short line, instead of labeling it top, right, left, bottom, up and down. I will be wasting our time. You can easily write it. So we can see this is just what I did now, and that is what they did in this particular section. So we can see it now. We have talked about margin property. So the next one, so if the margin property has three values, if the property margin has three values, margin, the top margin is 25. You can see it now. You may decide to use it for only 3 instead of the 4. It's not a must, it is 4. You can easily use it for only 2. So that is what they are trying to explain to us here. If the margin has only one value, all 4 margin are 25 pixels. So we can see it now. If the margin is having only one value, for instance, I just put it like this. I write it like this. I just write margin 50 pixels. So all the boxes, they are going to carry 50 pixels. All the boxes, they are going to carry 50 pixels. All of them, they will carry 50 pixels. So that is what they are trying to explain to us in this particular place. This is the margin shorthand for one value. So we can see it now. Now the auto value, you can set the margin to auto to horizontally center the element within its container. The element will then take up the specific width, and the remaining space will be split equally, left and right margin. So we can see it now. We can easily set our element to auto automatically. Both the right and left will be set automatically. So the elements let the margin of the P element be inherited from the parent DB using the inherit value. So we can see it now. We can use inherit to set the, when we have border, we have margin. You can easily place this one inside our element. Let's try it out. Let's see what is happening in this particular section. You can see it now. You can see it now. This is our document. We have DV. DV is our style. Border one red. We input the CSS inside this place, into this place automatically. So margin left dot inherit. So the style that is here will be placed here automatically. Will be placed inside the paragraph automatically, and this is what we have inside this place. We have inside the paragraph here, and that is what we have here. So this place they are using internal CSS. This is internal CSS we have talked about in our previous lesson. You can check out the pop video to see internal CSS. We have talked about internal CSS. We have talked about different type of CSS. And that is why we are having CSS in this particular place. So that is that on margin. So all margin property. Number one, a margin, the first one, a shorthand property for setting all the margin property in one declaration. So when you use a margin, you are setting all the margin of your element into one property, into one with one design. Like we have it we have 25%, we have 50%, we have the 4 in one particular place. That's when you use margin. Now when you use margin button, set the bottom margin of an element to the bottom section of your element. You are setting the margin, then the left to the right and the top. So that is what I need to discuss about margin. Let's go to the next section of margin, which is margin collapse. Margin collapse. Let's check how margin collapse works. So sometimes two margin collapsed into a single margin. Top and bottom margin of an element are sometimes collapsed into a single margin that is equal to the largest of the two margins. Thing does not happen on left and right margin only top and bottom margin. Look at the following example. So we have another example of margin. Demonstration of margin. So we can see now margin 0, 0, 0. In the middle one, you know, the first time we talked that the first margin is the top, the next one is the right, the other one is the bottom, the next one is the left, and the last one is the bottom. So now let's check what happened when we try it out on the code editor. So we can see it now. We can see the margin of each of the elements. You can see the space between them. So this is how the margin work. This is how in this example, the H1 element has the bottom element of 50% and the H2 has a top margin of 20%. So the vertical margin between H1 and H should be having 50%. However, due to margin collapse, the actual margin end up being 50. Did you see it now? This is what we have been talking about the margin collapse. You can see it now. That is margin collapse. So all CSS property we have discussed about that one. So the next one, let's discuss about padding and height before I end this tutorial and go to another section of tutorial. But you guys should make sure you watch this video to the end, because we are going to cover all the section of CSS tutorial, and we are going to be building a complete site where we are done with all our classes. You guys should like this video, share this video as I'm bringing it one after the other. And if you like this video, drop your comment, your feel, your contribution that will help this channel to grow on our comment section. All right, let's go to CSS padding. Now. CSS padding is used to create space around an element content inside any of divine border. Just like when you draw a box and you now you bought a box, you want to keep a small fowl inside or a small cat inside, and you now put a cloth around the cat. You are covering the cat. You don't want to eat cold. You don't want the cat to be catching a cold. Oh, I'm using cat as an example. You don't want the cat to be catching a cold. You now use one cloth to cover its round. So that is padding. Example of padding. You are padding the cat. You are blocking it from space. Now this place to the element has a padding of 70%. So the element is used to add a space around an element content inside any of divine border. So CSS padding property are used to generate space around an element content inside any of the divine border. With CSS, you have the full control over the padding. The property of setting the padding. For inside of an element, we have the top, we have the right, we have the bottom, and the left. This is now. So CSS padding is just like the margin, but there are a lot of difference between them. So CSS property for padding is specified for adding space on each side of the element. We have for the top, we have for the right, we have for the bottom, we have for the left. So all the padding property can have the following: the length specify a padding in pixel, in point, and in centimeter, etc. Then percent specify a padding in percent of the weight of the containing element. In area, specify that the padding should be area from the parent element. Negative value are not allowed. Don't forget, even in the margin, negative value are not allowed. Don't say -10%, -10 centimeter, -5 centimeter. Don't say -1%. No, it's not allowed. So setting different padding for all four sides of a div element that is your border. Inside a border, you are setting padding for them. This is how you will do it. The way padding top 50, padding left 30, padding 50, padding bottom, padding left 80%. So we can see it now. It also has a shorthand of the way we do the margin. So the margin and padding, the way they wrote it is almost the same thing. You can also have a shorthand property. To shorten the code, it is possible to specify all the padding property in one property. So that is the way we do the other time that we write padding. Let me say which one. Let me use it for each one. Okay, padding. I'll just write, okay, 25% for the top, for the right 30%, for the left 50%, for the bottom 60%. So this is the single line. This is the shorthand property to write all your property, CSS property in one single line. That is how it works. So we can see the example in this section. I'm not going to dwell more on this particular place since they are the same with the one I've explained earlier. So since they are the same, so we can see this is the property or CSS property. Padding a shorthand property for setting all the padding property in one declaration. We have the padding button to set padding at the bottom of the element, set the left button of our element. We have the right to, then we have the button section. Now the last one I'm going to cover in this section is the CSS height and width, just like the breadth and breadth and length and breadth in our mathematics class. So now CSS height, let's go to CSS height and width. CSS height and width property are used to set the height and width of an element. The CSS mass width property is used to set the maximum width of an element. Now this one, now the element has the height of 50% and a width of 100%. So you can see it now. So now when we want to try it now, let's see the example here. So let's go down first. CSS setting height and width are property used to set the height and width of an element. The height and width property do not include padding or margin. It sets the height of an area of an element inside the padding, so we can see the different border and margin of the element. CSS height and width property may have the following. The first one is auto, which is default on the browser, whether you're using Chrome, whether you're using Google or Firefox, whether you're using Microsoft Edge, any browser you are using. The length divide the height either in pixel, either in a centimeter, etc. We also have the percentage. We decided to use percentage. We decided to use percentage. We decided to use percentage. So you also have in it here set the height and width to a default value. Inherit our slash where will be inherit from the parent value. So CSS height and width example. The element, this element has a width, has a height of 200% and a width of 50%. So let's try it out now. You can see what's happened in this particular section. You can see it now. You can see it now. We have our style, we have our work, in this particular place. You can see it now. This element has a, okay, let me do it for a paragraph. So now I'm going to delete my paragraph element in this particular place. I am going to style it the way they style it in this place. So let's, okay, I think we can do it in this place. We can do it in this place. Let me say height. Let me put to the piece the width width. Let me put 50%. Now let's save our work and see what is going to happen to our paragraph element. So we can see it now. Wow, this is a sample of what they did in this particular place that we did in our code editor. I'm using VS Code, so the browser we are using, the code editor we are using may be different. So it's just the same method and the same pattern that you are going to follow. And don't forget that I promise that I'm going to take the CSS section by section before we now go to the live practical or building a live site in this place. So this is where we are going to stop today. Make sure you watch the video, drop your comment in the comment section, and if you have any question, I'm going to attend to it. So this is how to hide height. So the property CSS dimension property, height set the height of an element, maximum height set the maximum height of an element, maximum width set the maximum width of an element, minimum means is for the minimum, meaning for width is for the minimum for width, and the width set the width of an element. So this is the end section. We have covered the border, we have covered the margin, we have covered the padding, we have covered the height and width. So in the next section, we are going to go to the next section, which is box outline, text font and icon on CSS. How do we use it from CSS? How do we use it within HTML? Well, I see you guys in the next section of this tutorial. Make sure you subscribe to this video, and make sure you share this video, so that when you subscribe, YouTube will make it to go viral, and when you share, when you make comment, they will promote this video to other people like you that may need it. All right, thank you guys, thank you, see you next time.